This saying means that taking measures to avoid something happening is better than dealing with the problem after it has occurred. This proverb highlights the importance of being proactive rather than reactive and emphasizes that it is easier and more effective to prevent issues from arising in the first place than to deal with them once they have become full-blown problems. Now, this saying can be applied to many aspects of life, from personal health and relationships to business and society. For example, let's say you know that you need to exercise regularly to stay in good physical shape. It is much easier to start working out now rather than waiting until you get sick or injured and then having to spend time and money on treatments and therapies. Or, if you are aware that your relationship is heading for a breakup, it is better to take action to improve the situation now rather than waiting for the breakup to happen and then dealing with the pain and complications of separation. Similarly, businesses can save themselves a lot of trouble by addressing issues as they arise instead of trying to sweep them under the rug and hope they go away. And society as a whole benefits when governments and organizations take steps to prevent problems like poverty or crime rather than just treating the symptoms. So we can see that the idea behind this proverb is quite simple yet incredibly powerful. By being proactive and taking steps to prevent problems from happening, we can avoid a lot of pain, suffering, and expense later on. Now, there may be times when we do encounter problems that we were not able to prevent. However, by adopting a proactive mindset and learning from our mistakes, we can minimize the chances of this happening and create a better future for ourselves and those around us. So let's discuss this further and explore how we can apply this proverb to our own lives. The first thing to note here is that prevention is usually easier and less costly than cure. Dealing with a problem often requires more resources, effort, and time compared to preventing its occurrence in the first place. For example, let's say you neglected your health and did not take care of yourself properly. As a result, you became sick and needed to visit the hospital for treatment. In this scenario, you would have to spend money on medication and tests, take time off work to recover, and endure the discomfort and pain associated with your illness. However, if you had simply taken preventive measures such as eating healthy foods, exercising regularly, and getting enough sleep, you could have avoided all of these issues entirely. Similarly, let us say you ignored warning signs in your romantic relationship and did not address issues as they arose. As a result, the relationship deteriorated and eventually ended. If you had communicated effectively with your partner, compromised when necessary, and worked through your differences, you may have been able to save your relationship. However, because you did not take the necessary preventive measures, you ended up dealing with the pain and emotional toll of a breakup. The same logic applies to many other areas of life as well. By taking steps to prevent problems from occurring, such as maintaining your car regularly to avoid breakdowns, backing up your data to prevent data loss, or learning new skills to enhance your job security, you can save yourself from potential headaches down the road. It's important to remember that while we can't always prevent problems from happening, we can often minimize their impact by taking the right precautions. Therefore, it's crucial to be aware of potential risks and take the necessary steps to mitigate them. This may require some initial investment of time and resources, but it's often much better than dealing with the consequences of a full-blown problem. Another aspect of this proverb is that dealing with problems often creates new ones. When we try to treat a symptom rather than addressing the root cause, we may end up creating new issues that were not present before. For example, let's say you have a pile of dirty clothes on the floor. Instead of doing your laundry, you decide to ignore it and hope that it goes away. However, as the pile of dirty clothes grows, it starts to attract insects and create an unpleasant smell. Eventually, you will have to deal with the clothes and the new problems that have arisen because of your inaction. Similarly, let us say you are feeling anxious or depressed, and instead of seeking help and addressing the underlying issues, you try to alleviate these feelings with drugs or alcohol. While these substances may provide temporary relief, they can also lead to addiction and other health problems. In this case, the attempt to treat one problem ends up creating new ones that are even more difficult to deal with. This proverb also applies to societal issues as well. For example, if a government tries to reduce poverty by providing temporary financial assistance without addressing the root causes of poverty, such as lack of education or job opportunities, it may end up creating a dependency on government aid and perpetuating the cycle of poverty. Therefore, when faced with a problem, it's important to consider the underlying causes and take steps to address them effectively. By doing so, we can prevent the problem from recurring and causing further issues in the future. This may require some effort and commitment, but it is often better than dealing with the consequences of a half-baked solution. Finally, let's discuss the fact that dealing with problems can be emotionally and mentally draining. When we are faced with a problem, we often experience stress, anxiety, and other negative emotions. This can be especially true if the problem is complex, long-term, or involves other people. For example, if you are in a difficult situation in your career, such as being stuck in a dead-end job or facing layoffs, this can cause significant stress and uncertainty in your life. You may feel anxious about your financial security and uncertain about your future prospects. Additionally, if you have responsibilities such as a family to support, the pressure to find a new job can be even more intense. In such situations, it's important to take care of our mental and emotional health and seek support when needed. While it's impossible to avoid all problems and setbacks in life, we can learn to manage them more effectively and bounce back quickly when faced with adversity. This requires developing coping mechanisms such as mindfulness, meditation, or talking to loved ones, as well as seeking professional help if necessary. By taking care of our mental and emotional health, we can better navigate the challenges we face and ultimately create a more fulfilling life for ourselves. In conclusion, the saying "prevention is better than cure" highlights the importance of taking proactive steps to avoid problems rather than dealing with them reactively. By being proactive, we can often prevent problems from occurring in the first place, which is usually easier and less costly than dealing with the consequences of those problems. Furthermore, when we deal with problems, we may inadvertently create new ones that were not present before. Therefore, it's important to address the root causes of problems rather than just treating the symptoms. Finally, we must recognize that dealing with problems can be emotionally and mentally draining, and that it is essential to take care of our mental health and seek support when necessary. By keeping these points in mind, we can adopt a more proactive and effective approach to problem solving and ultimately create a better future for ourselves. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on this proverb. Have you ever experienced a situation where taking preventive measures would have been more beneficial than dealing with the problem afterward? Please share your story in the comments below. Additionally, if there are any other proverbs that you would like me to discuss, please let me know. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep learning and growing.